Today, we're going to be talking about and comparing two films, Bartholomew's Song and Death to the Tin Man. We will look at their plot and also their diegetic and non-diegetic elements. To begin, we will talk about Bartholomew's Song. It was released on April 1st, 2006, and was directed by Destin Cretton and Lowell Frank. This film was made during their first year of graduate school at San Diego State University. He later went on to direct another longer, more sophisticated film called Short Term 12. The next film to look at is Death to the Tin Man. It was released on January 18, 2007 by Ray Tintori. This is a black and white short film looking at the original story of how the Tin Man came to be. It was his senior thesis film at Wesleyan and premiered at Sundance in 2007. He says he wrote it to show how so many times film writers write films about middle-aged people when they have never gone through these experiences themselves. He is quoted saying, "The emotions in Tin Man are essentially teenage emotions. I made it in college, and a lot of the story was based on experiences I had when I was in high school and the way I felt about the people who I was involved with romantically." Now we're going to take a look at the two terms diegetic and non-diegetic. We'll look at the differences between these two and how these relate to the two films. First, we're going to take a look at an example of a diegetic film.
Want to get some food?
I'm sorry you are not sufficiently impressed with my education.
I'm sorry I don't have a rowboat, so we're even.
I think we should just be friends.
I don't want friends.
I was just being polite. I have no intention of being friends with
I'm
you.
under some pressure right now from my OS class, and if we could just order some food, I think we should be...
Okay, you are probably going to be a very successful computer person. But you're going to go through life thinking that girls don't like you because you're a nerd. And I want you to know from the bottom of my heart that that won't be true. It'll be because you're an asshole.
In the clip we just saw from The Social Network, we see examples of diegetic and non-diegetic elements. The diegetic elements in the film are the total world of the story, or all of the sounds and characters and events that make up the film. Or another way to say it is all the things the characters can hear. So, in this scene, an example of diegetic elements was all the bar sounds and the music that was playing in the background that were part of the character's surroundings. Non-diegetic elements, however, are things that we see and hear on the screen that come from outside of the story, such as the score of the film. For example, at the very end of the clip, the sounds of the bar and the music begin to fade out, and music from the background begins to play. However, this music is different because it's music that us as the audience can hear and not in the actual setting and the place the characters are at.
She taught him things she'd learned at university, like how wealth redistribution was the only solution to the world's problems. He taught her how to shoot a gun. The town was notorious for the amount of miraculous interventions that had occurred there. People traveled from all over the country in order to be healed. Jane's father was the town pastor.
We must agree that unclean spirits shall be purged from our lives. We shall
Needless to say, he was not fond of Bill.
In Bartholomew's Song, we see clear indications of diegetic elements. This meaning that the music in the film from the music box is strictly for the purpose of the characters in the film. But in Death to the Tin Man, the non-diegetic elements are strictly for the purpose for the film and the audience, not music that the characters are hearing or playing. In films, there is usually a plot that is followed. It usually goes from the exposition, which is the setup, then the rising action, which develops the action, to a climax, and then the climax, which is the turning point. Falling action is then the events that bring closure, and the denouement is the resolution and aftermath. In Bartholomew's Song and Death to the Tin Man, there is a climax, or a moment that happens that turns the ending of the film to the way it did. In Bartholomew's Song, this climax is when Bartholomew sings on the microphone. This changes the way the whole ending of the film is. In Death to the Tin Man, the climax is when he gets his axe and starts turning into the Tin Man. That then also affects how the ending would turn out. In both of these films, the climax of the film ends up leading to a sense of chaos towards the end. In Bartholomew's song, it is when one of the Bartholomews still has the song in his head and is starting to change and think about the world differently and not conform to the world he is in anymore. In Death to the Tin Man, a riot breaks out over the town and the people begin to go crazy and not know what to do anymore.